This is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. The US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin has said an international coalition is being formed to combat attacks on merchant shipping in the Red Sea by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Speaking on a visit to Israel, Mr Austin told reporters he will be holding a meeting with regional counterparts on Tuesday to discuss the issue. Here's Mike Thompson.
The US Defence Secretary made clear that the almost daily Houthi attacks on shipping are a truly global concern, from the potential loss of seafarers' lives to serious supply chain and cost implications. By deciding to avoid the Red Sea and Suez Canal, ships operated by many of the world's biggest freight companies face a much longer route around the Cape of Good Hope. It's not yet clear what form Mr Austin's planned international coalition will take, but it's likely to involve a big increase in warships able to thwart the Houthi attacks.
Israel's prison service has warned the government that the war in Gaza is putting the country's jails under severe strain. Prisoner numbers have increased by more than 3,000 since the conflict began. A senior official said the overcrowding was becoming so dangerous that he feared the authorities could lose control. Last month, Israel's parliament passed a bill allowing the government to suspend rules covering minimum housing standards for inmates. There are fears of a widening humanitarian catastrophe in Sudan as thousands of residents try to flee Wad Madani, south of the capital Khartoum. The Rapid Support Forces militia, or RSF, is reported to have captured from the military. Our Africa regional editor Will Ross reports.
Terrified residents of Wad Madani say gunmen from Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have spread out across the city. The RSF has an appalling reputation for human rights abuses, and there are reports that looting has already begun. People have been trying to get out of the city, but that's not easy. There's a fuel shortage and there are gunmen along the roads. International efforts to stop this war have all failed. The army leadership and the RSF have chosen to fight on. Since April, nearly 7 million people have been displaced. Now it's impossible to know where is safe in Sudan.
A senior Ukrainian commander says Kiev is scaling back some military operations against Russia due to a shortfall in foreign assistance. Brigadier General Alexander Tarnavsky, who's in charge of a large stretch of the front line, said there was a shortage of ammunition. He said military help from the West was still arriving, but not enough.
The
volumes that we have today are not sufficient for us, given our needs. So we are redistributing it. We are replanning tasks that we had set for ourselves and making them smaller.
BBC News. The Roman Catholic Church has granted approval for priests to perform blessings for same-sex couples. It said they must not be linked to weddings or civil unions and would not be part of regular church rituals. The decision marks a significant change in policy. As recently as 2 years ago, the Vatican said it rejected such ceremonies, adding, "God does not bless sin." Burkina Faso's military-appointed government has blamed jihadist groups for the massacre of civilians in the north of the country. Videos have recently emerged on social media accusing the army of committing atrocities in the Djibo area. A government spokesman said the footage was part of what he called a terrorist propaganda campaign. A US steelworkers union has condemned a deal under which a Japanese firm has agreed to buy an American rival. Nippon Steel's takeover values US steel at more than $14 billion. Nippon said the American firm would keep its name, brand and headquarters in Pittsburgh. The makers of the fantasy role-playing game Warhammer have finalised a deal with Amazon to bring the characters and stories to the big screen. The British actor Henry Cavill, who's best known for playing Superman, has signed up to appear in the project. He'll also be an executive producer. This report from Laura Cress.
Warhammer is getting the star treatment.
Victory. That is what the preachers cry from the
The popular fantasy tabletop game was created in London in 1983 by game designers and friends Brian Ansell, Richard Halliwell and Rick Priestley. It involves players simulating battles between armies of miniature painted models. The franchise has a strong and loyal fan base, with some 4.7 million people estimated to use the Warhammer community website in 2021.
Laura Cress, BBC News.